Sean, how's it going?
It's going amazingly well. We published our first podcast for The Dip, and I'm excited.
I'm excited for the second episode. I'm excited to see where this is going to take off.
Exactly. You know what? I want to get into today's episode, but I want to tell you something. I recently helped my mother with a garage sale.
Okay.
Now, have you ever held a garage sale personally?
Not personally, but I've helped my parents go through a garage sale.
This is in terms of disruption,
garage sale.
Because The Dip is all about disruption.
Yes.
Somebody needs to disrupt the garage sale because this is the most old school.
Hasn't it already been disrupted by Craigslist and classifieds and things like that?
Yet my mother still wants a garage sale, and I'm still putting up flyers and putting it in the grass. People are somehow finding my mom's house to have his garage sale. I have no clue how this works.
Well, there's a lot of people out there, as I understand, they're scoping out the newspapers and looking through different things to find specifically garage sales so they can find deals.
Is that right? Well,
yes.
I just put it on Facebook and whatever.
Yeah.
But people showed up. But can you imagine? People physically showed up to my mother's house for a garage sale and they bought things for 50 cents.
Because it's cheap.
My mom is disrupting Amazon, I think.
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, is she making a profit off of it?
Probably not. But she's spending her time sitting there for selling 50 cents or $1 of crap that she doesn't need. Is that really value add? Is that really time well spent? I don't know.
I guess you could argue it's not time well spent, but I think the value that she derives from it is that she doesn't have that crap in her house. It's just the space.
Right.
I think.
Well, I think you're right. Now, let's get into today's episode.
Yes.
You met. Now, I don't know anything about who you met.
Yeah.
Who did you meet today?
I met with Terry Godwaldt.
My day job essentially I'm the director of programming for the Center for Global Education.
Okay.
I have 4 kids. I play in kind of an East Coast fiddle band, and and that's basically what takes up most of my time.
Yeah.
Now, where did you meet him?
I met him at Starbucks on Jasper and 109.
Okay.
And I originally thought that would not be a good environment to record in, to be honest.
Why?
Well, I thought it would be very noisy.
Okay, so you talked to him about the disruption in education.
In education, yeah. So I originally met Terry through one of my projects, and in that project we talked about the Center for Global Education.
Basically, what we do is fundamentally we connect students to the people and places that they're learning about. Right? We believe that the day and age of listening to a recording or watching a YouTube video or even reading a textbook, that's how the primary source for you to finding out about information. Although I think those are important roles, we fundamentally need to take a shift to receiving and engaging in the conversations with the people that we're learning about, and that's what the center does. Right? So we work with about 100,000 kids in 30 different countries, and want to make it such that they have an opportunity to hear firsthand about the people and places that they're learning about in their classes.
So the disruption so I'm not an education expert, but what I'm thinking about when you tell me about the disruption in education, I'm thinking about the YouTube, people learn their stuff on YouTube, the on-demand, on-demand knowledge, trend. I think of Khan Academy, lynda.com, Udemy, Coursera, people just getting education in different ways. That's what I think about the disruption in education.
Yeah.
Is that what you guys talked about?
That is what we talked about. We talked a little bit about that. But before we kind of get into that, let me ask you, what was your experience like when you were a younger child in the education sector? So in junior high, high school, and university,
Well,
what was that like for you?
The classroom, or like as a kid?
Just, I think
I was chubby and I never got laid. That was the problem with me.
Okay.
But you're saying it in terms of education.
In terms of education.
Social.
In terms of
okay,
expectations for what you were... Like, what did you see the teacher as? Did you see the teacher as an expert?
Ah, interesting. I never thought about it that way. As an Indian kid growing up, my parents they were always on me in terms of my grades and how well I was doing in class. So I guess I didn't really think about the teachers that way. I didn't think of them as experts, really.
What did you think of them?
I thought of them as kind of people who, they, and I don't know, I'm trying to put myself back into that time, but I didn't think that they were experts. I thought they were just people who knew the space generally, and, they were teaching us the stuff that they should be teaching, right? Because the curriculum has a certain number of things that you teach on, and they just teach it. Yeah. It's not like you're freaking passionate about, World War II, and that's what you're teaching. Okay. You're teaching World War II because you effing have to teach World War II.
Right.
So I didn't think of them as experts. I thought them as humans that I could exploit to get better marks.
Okay.
So I flipped that on you, and what did you think?
To be honest, I thought some of them were definitely experts. And then some of them, like you said, had to teach it. So they had to become at least more knowledgeable than students. But I did see them as experts, and I saw them as a go-to resource.
Right.
And I talked to Terry about that, about how the role of the teacher is changing. And how do you think the role of the teacher is changing with all this democratization of content that's out there?
Yeah, I think that I think people should be taught by people who actually know the space in and out. Like, if I want to learn about startups, Paul Graham should be teaching me. Paul Graham's the godfather of Y Combinator. He should be teaching me about that. If I want to learn about medicine, I want Dr. Sanjay Gupta from CNN to teach me that. Okay, I don't know if he's the best example, but I want him to teach me that. I want an expert in that space to teach me that. I don't want somebody off the street teaching me bio, 30 or whatever we have in Canada. We have this biology 30 that we take in high school.
Yeah.
Some random person. Like, let the expert teach the stuff that they know. Your thoughts?
I agree. I don't think you answered the question, though, about what the teacher's...
I didn't?
The teacher's role.
Oh, what the teacher's role should be?
Yeah.
I mean, their role should be educating...
So, because I'm just trying to contrast that with what happened in the past. So, when you were in high school, elementary school, you didn't see the teachers as an expert. You just saw them as maybe an obstacle to you getting good grades.
Yeah, definitely an obstacle.
Okay. And now with technology being so pervasive, we have all this online content. What do you think the teacher's role should be?
The teacher's role should be to...
Are they still playing the same role?
Yeah, I think they're still playing the same role. You're just getting better teachers and teaching us stuff that actually matters and they're passionate about and that we can get inspired and excited about, rather than some person. And I'm sure teachers do I'm sure they do a great job, but I need somebody in place who has the knowledge to teach on something relevant, something that they actually know about. What are your thoughts on that?
I think with online content being so great these days, you can learn from basically anyone, any of the experts in any field, really. And at that point, teachers, for me, have changed roles from being the expert on the subject to more of, I think, a facilitator.
Yeah.
Or somewhat, almost like a librarian, how the librarian's role has changed. Because I think, at least for me, when I went to the library, I always saw librarians as the experts. They knew everything about everything. And now, with technology, with the internet, they're more of a facilitator. They know where to get resources, where to get good content, as opposed to knowing the actual subject itself.
Right.
And I see the teacher's role being very similar.
So what did he think?
The fundamental role of the teacher, I think, is going to change. I mean, if you just see yourself as a lecturer, you're right, you can be replaced. You can go on a MOOC, you can get that, you can do whatever. But if your job as a teacher is going to be there to walk alongside, to motivate, to understand the students who are in your classrooms, to know what makes them tick, and then to help them in that journey towards whatever deeper level of learning, to me, that's the role of what a real teacher is. And I don't care what technologies in my classroom, what distractions are there. If I have that relationship and I'm with them, then they can bring whatever they want in the classroom.
So what else did you guys talk about?
We definitely talked about 10 years down the line, how education would change. And if you had a crystal ball, and
this is where we play that music. That House of Cards music.
Yeah. How do you think education will change in 10, 15, 20 years?
So I think in 10 years, I don't think much will change.
In 10 years, much? Okay.
I'll tell you why. Because governments, public sector, and public sector organizations, especially in education, they take so long to develop and to develop curriculum I don't know, but they're just so old school that it's going to take 10 years to actually get them to a point. In 20 years, get them to a point where they're actually adopting all this online education. They're building marketplaces for learning. So this marketplace where you want to learn something, here's the expert. Building those marketplaces, incorporating like robots into, like, I think that's going to take time, but in 20 years, like, we're going to have all that. We're going to have a marketplace for learning. I think universities as they stand today are going to be in serious trouble. Absolutely. I think
are they going to exist?
I think they will still exist,
okay.
But their mandates and what they're all about will change. Maybe it'll be more about research, and I don't know. They're going to change.
Okay.
I think people getting MBAs will change. I don't think the value of the value of an MBA will be as prestigious as it is today. I think going to post-secondary school, going to a good post-secondary school, the value of that will decrease because you can get knowledge anywhere. I think in 20, 25 years, there's all these advances technology, perhaps somebody in India, a kid in India who's 16 years old has a VR set and he can actually do open heart surgery on his virtual reality set that he does 1,000 times over. And then you have somebody in North America who goes to traditional school and does open heart surgery, a couple times where they have all the knowledge. I'd actually want to get that kid in India to do my open heart surgery than somebody in North America because he's done it 1,000 times. So the way that people learn and the way that people, I think the way that people learn will drastically change, and there's going to be a complete democratization of education everywhere. And that will disrupt everything, but not in 10 years. I think 20 years.
20 years.
Your thoughts?
I'd agree. I think before I talked to Terry, I always thought that democratization of content will just be more pervasive. There will be more personalization of content.
Yes.
So what you can do is when you go for a degree, and I think to a certain extent, you do have to take some base courses. You have to do some fundamental courses, and I think that will still be around. But
why?
I think it's to fulfill a lot of the government mandates.
Well, why? Why do you have to take physics in school?
I mean,
unless you want to do physics.
I think I don't fully understand it, but from what I understand, there's a lot of standardized tests that go on. You have to measure the progress that you're making.
You're making progress off something that doesn't matter.
Not necessarily. I mean, education is a huge part, right? And how do you measure the effectiveness if you can't measure across a standardized platform?
Why do you have to standardize?
Well, how do you can't, I mean, if I take a different test from you and I score differently, how do we know which student went through the education program more effectively?
But if we're saying that education is going to be more personalized, that means you're going to get more personalized assessments.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to get more personalized. Why are you comparing against other people when you can compare against yourself? And, there'll be artificial intelligence that will help us indicate if we're getting things or not. And then every person's assessment will be personalized. Why do you have to compete against everyone else?
I think that's how school is it not?
You're thinking
it's competition all the time.
It is, but I guess I don't see why we have to standardize physics for everyone and everyone has to learn physics when no one uses physics. Maybe we'll have some great physicists that come out and people who use physics in other ways and maybe physics is important. We should give them the choice if physics is important or not.
I think I disagree because I think basic physics, basic chemistry, basic biology, I think all of that is needed. Don't you think?
I guess.
You have to understand gravity.
Right.
You have to understand what's the difference between an acid and a base. I mean, sometimes we use cleaning chemicals and things like that.
What kind of student were you growing up? Were you a nerd or were you were you really studious? I just imagine because you're Asian that you were very studious.
I was fairly studious.
Did you get 90s, 80s? Did you make the honor roll?
For high school, elementary school?
Junior high, yeah.
Yeah, I started in preschool.
Yeah.
Just
you played
honor
piano,
roll.
right? Honor roll since...
In preschool.
Wow.
No, I'm half joking. Let's start in high school, I guess. In high school, yeah, I was first class.
Right.
Every single year. And then university, my grades dropped down a little bit, but...
And what were you good at?
Math. Really good at math.
Because you're Asian?
No.
Not because you're Asian.
No.
So in terms of the other realms, social studies,
yeah,
all that kind of stuff, you were good at that as well.
Yeah, right. I was good, but not as good as math.
And how is your physics degree? How did physics help you right now?
Physics?
Yeah.
You can't necessarily say that physics has no application.
No, of course, chemistry, biology, some people can say social studies, all these kind of things.
Yeah.
I think math is relatively important, but...
I think it's important. Math is really important.
Yeah. But so my whole thing is that in education, we don't teach kids the skills that they need. I would love if they had more technical skills and more, they learned a lot more about entrepreneurship. We train students to get jobs.
Yeah.
I don't like that. And I think maybe it's also part of, growing up and part of people's cultures is that their parents work somewhere and then we don't train enough entrepreneurs and we don't train that instinct of entrepreneurship. Maybe it's not.
Did you
trained.
recently read it, Seth Godin's books at all?
Well, I have.
This is what Seth Godin says.
This podcast is not endorsed by Seth Godin.
He talks about being a cog in the system.
I mean, maybe it's influenced. But
Okay,
I'm not stealing from him. Okay, so what did
this is what Terry said.
10 or 20 years down the road, I think there's definitely still going to be in an ideal learning environment. There's still going to be teachers, right? The ideal learning environment would have smaller classroom sizes in which we have in which we have groups of maybe 10 to 12 kids who are intensely engaged in this project-based learning model that they have personalized. And you have a teacher who's then guiding them as a coach and helping them gather resources, directing them in places. Now that's an ideal, but that's, to tell you the truth, that same ideal 10 or 20 years down the road is, quite honestly, I see the ideal that was there like 2,000 years before us, right? I think that ideal learning environment. Now, the kicker is that environment now would be as seamlessly interconnected, whether I am So the environment that we would see would be seamlessly interconnected, where necessarily these 10 or 20 kids wouldn't necessarily be all in the same physical place, right? We could have kids who are connected across barriers using technology to break down that traditional classroom model, where space and potentially even time are not the same kind of constraints that we have right now, and where you'd find your teacher in the same way that you might find a graduate student, or you might find your graduate coordinator now, right?
Yes.
And that's the ideal case. A reality I see, especially in light of decreased public funding to education, is I see us blending in technology to help discover. So a kid would sit down and he would type in his interests and he would be pursuing this path, a much more automated process. I think you can look at this, so that same kind of guide by the side role that's being placed by teachers, a lot of that would be played by a computer, which I think could do a lot of it. And I don't think that we're even in that scaled up version that we would see the same degree of classroom space not necessarily being as meaningful, right? Where you're having a class of 30 kids or 40 kids, because it's going to be that technology, it's going to be much more interplay with the technology that's there. You see some of the work that the big players, Microsoft and Pearson, are doing. They're trying to decrease the importance of having the teacher there, and that's what if you don't have the funding, that's going to have that impact. But I'll tell you, through the work that we do with the center, I can tell you in a second a teacher who sat kids down in front of our resources and let kids work independently on them, as opposed to someone who's facilitated that dialogue, right? So we have an event where we have students who connect to revolutionaries in the Middle East, right? And they spend a week to 10 days going through our resources to prepare them for the event. And then they come, and during this whole week to 10 days, they're actually blogging together, right? So the kids are writing online, and then they have a peer at another school who's reading their work and providing them with feedback. No longer am I preparing an essay for a teacher who's going to read it, and then what happens? It makes its way into a backpack and then gets thrown out or whatever. Right now they're preparing this and they're having their work edited by their peers. And then we also bring on graduate students who then read their work further and provide them with more feedback at a degree to which teachers just can't do, right? And then at the end of that experience, after they've networked and shared ideas, then they come and they actually get together real time and they share these ideas with an expert in the field. And this is, they'll be working with two revolutionaries, in this case of the one that we talked about, as a pacifist in Egypt and a gentleman in Abu Dhabi who's helping to finance the Syrian revolution, right? And then the kids have to defend their position on when you use violence and non-violence to cause societal change, right? So gone is this artificial construct that the teacher has constructed in their classroom, and now is this real experience, right, in which the kids have to know the content that they're working on because they're moving towards something powerful and meaningful. I can tell you in a second, getting back to the original point, which of our learners have learned this have encountered this in a classroom where they're just put in front of a computer, right? As opposed to which of our learners are working with an expert in the field, a teacher in that field who is guiding them through this content. And maybe a lot of the time, those teachers aren't choosing are to use our stuff. They'll use one or two pieces here or there, but they pull together their own material. The kids pull together their own material, and they make it meaningful. They personalize that, right? And they even interpret our questions in ways that they want to do. They've really, again, like we said earlier with personalization, that's something that they have done to the content that we're sharing with them. So, I mean, that's what, and with technology the way that it is now, I think that the opportunities to have more of that in the future is going to be a reality. I mean, our vision is that this is not going to be something restricted to a few classrooms, but we want this to be in every classroom.
But he had an interesting comment about teachers who ban social media in their classrooms. Let me ask you, if you were a teacher and you saw all the kids on Facebook, on Twitter, they're tweeting, they're on Instagram, what would you think?
Well, I'm a progressive guy, so I'm on Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, everything, all the time. And I think the smart teachers would utilize those platforms in order to, isn't that the smart thing to say?
It is the smart thing to say, but there are some teachers that ban all that stuff in the classrooms. What do you think about that?
I think these things are incredibly distracting as well. You get these notifications come up, and then I don't know, people, it's hard to work these days, right? You get an email that pops up, you get a message, you get a text message, you get a WhatsApp message, you get a Instagram notification. Is incredibly distracting. And how the hell do people get work done when you have all this distractions happening? So you listen, in some respect, I do believe that there's not a place for that, but for the most part, kids are going to use it. They're going to, you can't control it. So you might as well use it to your advantage.
I asked Terry what his thoughts were on that social media stance, and this is what he said.
I think that in an engaged classroom, kids can use whatever they want.
Yeah.
And when I do the same thing I say the same thing to teachers, like, hey, if I'm not interested enough, feel free to check out our website, feel free to do whatever you want. I think that kids do want to learn, and that when they develop that relationship with the teacher, that teacher who is then personalized and kind of help the students to discover and uncover what their passions are, can facilitate that in a classroom.
And what's kind of coolest thing that he's working on right now?
Right now, we're in the midst of bringing together the world's largest synthesis of youth opinion on climate change. We have 10,000 kids from every continent on the earth who are preparing a paper that's going to be presented at COP21, so the UN Climate Change Conference in Paris. And these kids will work together over 3 months, investing 25,000 hours of collaboration, in which they're working with their peers from across the planet to suggest and to demand action on behalf of the world's governments and industry on what they want to see. I mean, that's something that could only happen because of technology. Right? And we've prepared a number of these papers for different groups. So whether it's we just brought together a paper in which the youth of Canada shared their vision for what Post-Truth and Reconciliation Commission, which is the commission that was struck in Canada to look at the impact of residential schools and talk about what direction Canada should move in order to reconcile what's happened in the past. And so we got kids to look at that themselves. And I'll tell you, the sense of ownership that our kids have when they create that content. And this is where when we talk about the future of education, I think that we're at a time now where we have, it's never happened in history before, where our kids have an opportunity and the technology to make talking to someone on the other side of the planet super easy. Like, there's nothing to it, right? We have curriculum and we have flexibility, especially in our province, to incorporate that into the learning and the flexibility of the schedules even to make that happen. And then we have a world full of NGOs and people across the planet who want to connect with us. And so the opportunities to make those like a global education, a normal education, is something that I think that we not only have the opportunity, but as educators, we have the obligation to move towards. And if we don't go there, then our kids are going to go there without us.
Do you believe in climate change?
What do you mean, do I believe in it?
Yeah, some people don't. Some people don't believe in it.
I think it's a fact.
No, I know it's a fact, but I just wanted to make sure, man. I don't know. Maybe you're some sort of crazy...
I don't know. I think it's a fact.
Conservative, okay.
Yeah. I think climate change is real. I mean, will it affect me in my lifetime? Probably not. But does that mean that I don't care? No.
Yeah. So, okay. So going back to, great thing on the climate change thing. What else you guys touch on? He was wearing a suit, you said, right?
Yeah, well, a nice shirt.
Collared shirt.
Collared shirt, yeah.
It's a Friday. Was he wearing jeans or?
It wasn't a Friday. It was Thursday.
It was a Thursday. Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what I was wearing. Never mind. Okay.
What were you wearing?
I don't know. I don't remember.
Well, let me ask you something. When you were a kid, what kind of things did you enjoy outside of school? What kind of things did you like doing?
When I was a kid, what we loved to do is just spend time with other kids and play hockey and football, mainly street hockey.
Play sports a lot when you were a kid?
Yeah, we loved doing that. Love watching Fresh Prince and Family Matters back to back from 4 to 5. And maybe even there was 2 Family Matters back to back. And we'd watch that. TGIF on Friday nights, Boy Meets World. You know, when the internet started coming up, we'd go on ICQ and chat rooms, and then we'd wait up for that dial-up to go up on AOL.com. And that's what we loved to do as kids. Play.
I did a little bit of that.
Yeah, what did you do? You played piano, probably.
Yeah, I played piano.
For fun?
Well, seriously.
Oh, for serious?
Yeah. Yeah. And, I mean, I played sports as well. But one of the big things that I was into, I don't know if you were into this, but I had a huge Lego collection.
Okay. I had Lego, yeah. I would Lego.
Yeah. Do you like Lego?
Do I like Lego? I mean, as a kid... You're it's a brilliant concept, right? You have these blocks and you can build things and you can build anything, and it's just a massive creative orgasm, I guess. You can do whatever you want.
I think I owe basically all my creative outputs today
to Lego.
To Lego.
Wow.
Because, I mean, I think I'm like most kids. I built everything using the instructions, and then I would just tear it apart, and then I would build my own super duper aircraft machine.
It totally allows kids to play and be creative. Yeah.
Have you heard? Now, I bring up this subject because
I'm wondering why you were bringing this subject up.
Have you heard of Minecraft? Have you heard of this game?
I've heard of Minecraft. Correct. Yes.
Minecraft is just Lego, but in the digital age, I think. But it's even more so.
Right. It's an app, right?
No,
it's a game.
It's a game.
It's a game.
Yeah.
I've heard of Minecraft. I think I've seen commercials on it.
Yeah.
So kids are playing this?
Kids are playing
You have analytics on this?
I
thought kids are playing Angry Birds.
They are. I mean, I don't know the stats myself. On
games
how
is
many
huge,
kids.
though. If you look at the App Store, it's all games.
They are huge.
The top 100 is all games.
But Minecraft is really popular.
I agree. I do see that.
Popular.
I do see that streaming on the App Store.
And I have this hypothesis maybe that I think it's just Lego, but it's just the digital Lego. And anyway, I bring it up because Terry's kids are really into Minecraft, and he told me this story about his kid and the connection to education. This is the story.
My son got for Christmas the Minecraft series on how to do different things. So I see my son sitting with a book on how to create. And this is what happened just this morning. Sitting reading a book on how to create a secret door, and then going online and watching a YouTube video of someone else creating this secret door, and then going onto his site and creating it, and then coming to me and showing it to me and asking if he can create a YouTube video of himself having done this work. Like, that's the... And then I just... Remember we talked about earlier how there's these two different worlds of learning that are out there, right?
Yeah.
So we have like this real world learning that our kids are doing, and then we have this classroom learning that's going on. That's the real world learning that's out there that we have the chance to plug into. And that's the job of the teacher, is the same job that I have as a parent, to enable and facilitate that same type of learning.
This is what technology enables.
Yeah.
People are able to connect the things that they learn with the real world. Real world. In quotes.
But what's remarkable is that he wants to share it as well.
Yes.
Kind of like, that's why Twitch is $1 billion company, got bought up by Google, right? Google bought it?
Amazon?
Oh, maybe you're right. I can't remember.
It's Amazon.
But, yeah, people love recording themselves and playing games. But you know what? Did you play Nintendo?
Yes.
Growing up?
Yeah.
You had a lot of games?
No. Just Mario, I think. Duck Hunt, maybe?
Right, you're too busy playing piano. But
studying.
What we used to learn was that, you go to your friend's house.
Yeah.
And then you'd learn that there's like a cheat that you can, like, you go, and you're in Mario 1, and you find out that you can skip levels. Like, you didn't know this until you went to your friend's house, or you read somewhere. I don't know where people would read this, but we'd find tricks and things.
Yeah.
And now this is on another level. People are going on YouTube. Like,
Huge
if we
level.
had YouTube, we'd finish the game in 2 seconds, Mario 1.
True. Very true.
But it's the same type of concept, I think.
Yeah.
I think video games also has a massive component to education that we haven't really capitalized on. And I think video games is like on the decline.
Well, I think it's the whole gamification is...
Yeah, well, the apps and like,
concept,
people are getting games so easily. But
yeah.
Anyways, we're not talking about that.
Yeah.
What else do you guys talk about?
One of the things that I was kind of interested in is... And I mean, I don't know how many teachers there are out there, but there's some teachers that are maybe perhaps stubborn. They don't want to buy into this whole technology. And I asked Terry what he thought about these teachers, what his advice would be. And this is what he said.
Take them to Australia.
That's not exactly what he said.
First off, I would say I completely understand where you're coming from.
Okay.
Right? I mean, you're operating in class sizes that only seem to be getting bigger, with a level of busyness that only seems to be increasing when we are dealing with ever more challenging classroom situations. But my response would be that the reason why we got into education is because we love kids, right? And we want to see them to be successful. And we cannot be training kids in our school systems to live in a world that ended 50 years ago, right? And if we're going to really empower them to make the changes that we want to see in this planet, that technology's got to be a tool there, and that they don't need to be afraid in terms of technology replacing them. Because in an effective classroom, they just become all that much more important to making the real learning take place. And you know what? If you want to step out, I bet half the kids in your classroom can do all this stuff and can show you how to make it happen in the content that you're teaching. Right? So you don't have to be this expert anymore, right?
Yeah.
You can, because you're walking along beside them, you're going to be able to use their knowledge and their expertise to make it happen.
What were basically the two things that you took away from the meeting, other than, people wondering why you were recording in Starbucks?
One thing that I took away was, and I asked him, what disruptive technology is coming down the pipe?
Yes.
That will really impact education.
Let me guess.
Okay.
If you said online, that's mobile, dumb. Robotics, probably not. I think it's VR, virtual reality, or AR, which is augmented reality.
Okay.
So I think I would go with either or. VR. VR is.
VR?
Yeah.
How much money would you put on VR?
I would put my house, if I had money, I would put everything on VR.
Him saying VR. That's
him saying VR?
Yeah.
I would put down a very hefty sum that I would not disclose. Yes.
More than like 5 figures? 6 figures?
No, I mean like what I have in my pocket.
3 figures. In your pocket right now? So 7 figures.
I have nothing in my pocket right now. But,
okay.
But no, I would bet you $5 that he said VR. Okay. I would bet you $5 that he said VR. What did he say?
The next big game changer in education.
Maybe it's something like the wearables, right? Everybody has access to data. You have Google Glasses, and all you do is you just go and explore the world and you learn about it just as you look at things. Or, again, it could be virtual reality. Maybe instead of learning about dinosaurs, you're actually in Jurassic Park. And you're watching things move around you, and you can see, okay, stop it. Okay, what is this dinosaur, and what do they eat, and what are its predators? Maybe it's that. I don't know. It's kind of...
Yeah, essentially what it's going to be is something that enables students to become passionate about whatever content, that enables students to discover their passions and then to take tangible steps towards achieving those passions. So whether it happens to be, again, virtual reality that's going to enable them to go in the midst of an experience and feel like they're actually there and help to develop that empathy with the people of a certain experience. I think it's the technology that's going to, whatever technology it is, it's going to be a technology that allows us to create connections and make our world a smaller place, right? And so we go beyond just learning about somebody, but we're actually connected to them, and we feel that their reality is it breaks down the us and them and gets rid of the other and creates us all into a similar plane, because that's just like what we fundamentally need in order to solve the global challenges that we have now, which can't be solved by me thinking about myself and my specific location, right? So what specific technology that's going to be, I don't know, but I would definitely say that it's going to be, I think it's going to be in the form of a technology that's going to allow me to feel a tangible connection to the learning and a tangible connection to the world's greatest challenges that are there in front of us now. If I could have a billboard that said anything, and where would I locate it?
Yes.
Honestly, I think I would. Can I decide anywhere it is on? Could it be anywhere on a digital platform as well?
Sure.
Okay. I think that Minecraft, where our young people are seeing themselves as creators of planets and ecosystems, and so I would have it on Minecraft.
Yeah.
Now, right? And I think that medium would switch in the future. And it would say, I want to create my learning like I created my world. You know? So, and I don't know if it would be exactly something that would have to, and maybe I'll just talk about it for a little bit.
Yeah, sure.
So, it would be something that has to do with getting youth to challenge their teachers to create a reality in their classroom like what they are experiencing in Minecraft. So how could I get that into a billboard like sign? This is what my classroom should be. You know, something along, again, this is what my classroom should be. Yeah, I might even, no, I can't email it to you there because it's a podcast.
You can email it to me. Yeah. And I can, I'll just, maybe I'll edit that part out or something. I'll just put it in. Or you can send me a recording.
Or how about this? Get your teacher a classroom that's reflective of this is what your classroom should be. Yeah. And this is what your classroom should be.
I'm sorry, my friend. You owe me $5.
Okay. What did he say?
He said that he doesn't know the answer.
Man, that's a trick question.
He doesn't know the answer. But what he did say, and this is what I learned, is next big thing will help make the world, whatever technology it is, could be anything.
Yeah.
But that technology will specifically connect students to the real world. It'll make the world a smaller place.
Yeah.
And it'll provide a greater sense of equality.
Wang, do you know what that is called? That's called VR.
I don't know if it's necessarily VR.
That's virtual reality. But anyways, okay, cool. So you learned that.
He didn't say VR.
Okay.
Yeah.
All good.
Yeah.
So you learned that from him. Good.
Yeah, and then the second thing, I asked him a Tim Ferriss question.
Yeah.
I asked him if he had a billboard and he could put it anywhere and he put any message on it, where would he put it and what would it say?
Brilliant question.
And this question actually really stumped him. Because, I
asked the name to learn what he said.
This is what he said.
So if you had a billboard and you could write anything on it in the middle of Times Square?
In the middle of Times Square? I don't get to choose the location?
Well, I think Times Square is the most,
Why does it have to be Times Square?
Times Square is like an iconic, okay, wherever you want, man. Like, I'm just saying that's the most iconic place.
That is the most iconic place, but is it going to get the most eyeballs, do you think?
Yes, in terms of density, I believe so. In terms of sheer density.
What
are we debating on? What would you put on the billboard?
Like a serious answer or the funny answer? The funny answer...
Okay, yeah, I don't know. What's a funny answer?
The dip. Wang and Sean. Or Sean and Wang, whatever.
No, Wang and Sean. We lead with Sean because Wang and Sean...
Does it sound as right?
Yeah, Wang, because people get unnerved when there's an ethnic name to start with.
You know what I was thinking about is people will inevitably ask us what the dip is, and I think we've explained it in the first podcast.
Yes.
But we can expand the dip into an acronym. Because that acronym will help us structure exactly what we're doing in this episode.
Okay, cool.
In the episodes.
And what are you thinking?
Disruption.
Yes.
What disruption is happening? Innovation.
Okay.
And I forgot the P. I think the P is...
Potential?
Potential, maybe, yeah. Maybe potential.
Potential? Disruption, innovation, and potential?
Doesn't fit?
Yeah, no. It's potassium? No, I don't know. But that's a good idea.
Progress?
Progress. Holy, that's awesome. Yeah. Disruption, innovation, and progress. There you go. So anyways, what's your real answer for the billboard thing?
Oh man. So James Altucher. Choose yourself. And then I put dash Wang Yip.
Yeah. Right. So James Altucher, again, if no one knows who he is, he's an entrepreneur, podcaster, author, blogger. Cool. So what I would put, if I could put a billboard in Times Square, it doesn't have to be in Times Square, but if I could put a billboard somewhere, what would I put? I think I would put, like, selfishly, I would try to maximize my profits and sell a spot to somebody so that I could get some returns back.
What would you sell though?
I think I would like propose it to like a big brand. I would go, maybe I'm such a sellout. I wouldn't say something so like prophetic, like choose yourself or like people. Maybe I would like sell it to Nike, a big company, or Virgin. Yeah.
But
Drake.
They already have ad space in Times Square.
That's right. Yeah.
So what are you kind of gaining?
I don't know. I guess I would just like push what I'm doing now. Like I would push the dip. I would push any upcoming like media or whatever I'm doing, which is kind of selfish. I wish I could give you a better answer. But then I also say look up because no one's looking up. Like get off your phone, mother effer. Like that's what I would say.
You would say that? On the billboard?
I wouldn't say
nobody would pay attention.
That's right.
Unless they're off their phone anyway.
True. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. But I think we need to interview somebody from outdoor advertising because I think that industry is being disrupted.
Advertising in general, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We should interview somebody. Cool. So what's happening this weekend, man? People like this part of the podcast.
Yeah. Well, there's as you know, I play a lot of badminton.
Correct.
It's a new facility opening up. I'm not going to name the facility because it's not an endorsement or anything, but there's a new facility opening up in West Edmonton. They are exclusively badminton. It's the first exclusive badminton only facility in Edmonton. They have a grand opening this weekend. It's free.
Okay.
So I'm heading there, and then afterwards, probably K-Days.
Good for you.
How about you? What are you up to?
Tonight I have an engagement party.
Another engagement.
It's not
another
a
wedding.
It's a
what?
It's an engagement party, and then
but there will eventually be a wedding.
And eventually be a wedding.
I mean, and hopefully, knock on wood, kind of.
Yeah. You know, if I don't mess up too much at the engagement party. No, the engagement party's tonight, and then tomorrow night we're taking my wife's cousins from Australia, and we'll take them out. But the next week we're in Vegas for our 5-year anniversary.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah. She doesn't know this. We'll see if she doesn't know. It's kind of a surprise, but she doesn't listen to this podcast anyways. So we'll see. We'll publish it. We'll see if she actually,
I think she'll catch on.
Do you think she'll catch on?
Yeah, I think she'll listen to it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So that's what's happening.
Are you emceeing?
No, I'm not emceeing this. I do MC a lot of weddings.
But just not this wedding.
Oh, I don't know. They haven't asked. I mean, they haven't had the wedding yet. So I don't know. They might ask. I'm not sure.
How far away is the wedding?
I'm sure the wedding's next year. You know, it's usually
next year.
Brown Standard Time, you know, engagement party. And then
is it really that long? I thought it was like a couple months.
No. It's going to be next year. Yeah.
I didn't even realize there was an engagement
I don't know. That is
Did you have an engagement party?
I did, actually. But my engagement party was like closer to we didn't have an engagement party. Like we had one the week before, but we were engaged for like a year. So I guess we didn't have one. No, we didn't have one, but we had a faux engagement party. I don't know. Brown people are weird. They're just.
You had a party before your wedding.
Yeah, we had a week before a wedding. We had an engagement party. Like, I guess in India, people get arranged, and so they have an engagement party. Of course, we weren't arranged. We've dated for years.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm not explaining this well, but that's basically it.
Did you MC your own wedding?
Good question, Wang. No, I did not.
No? Could have just put on a mask.
That's right. You know, actually, it's funny because I have a friend. He's a writer, very kind of cool guy. He wants to MC his own wedding. And I'm like, dude, that's like the weirdest thing ever. What the hell?
Why did he say that he's going to MC his own wedding?
Well, he thinks he can do an amazing job.
He probably can, but that's not the point, I don't think.
I don't think that's the point either. I recommend it.
Doesn't he want to enjoy his own wedding?
I know, that would be weird. I would actually be sitting there kind of weirded out that he'd be emceeing his own wedding. So no, that's it, man. Well, listen, this was a lot of fun.
As always.
This is a lot of fun. And I just want to remind everyone that this is not an endorsement from Seth Godin.
No, it's not. We got emails to prove it.
That's right. And if anybody wants to see the email, send us a note. Let's hit the music.